Hey everyone, we're back with our Clairvoyance EX tier list part 2. If you watched the last one, you'll notice there's a little bit of a difference with this tier list. I've decided for these next parts to not talk about the 4 stars, as this tier list is supposed to be really who you should roll for and how impactful rolling for them will be for your account. And I really have a hard time recommending you to roll for a 4-star, as the primary target on a banner. So we're going forward, we're going to not talk about the 4 stars. If you want me to do a video talking about future 4 stars, I can definitely hook that up for sure. So let me know in the comments. But yeah, thanks for clicking on this video. I hope you guys enjoy, and let's get right into it. First, we have the Trung Sisters. In my opinion, they are like the Jose Ramirez of Fate Grand Order. They are so underrated that it's almost flipped over to being correctly rated or perfectly rated or maybe even a little overrated. So let's get into it. So Trung Sisters are a saber single target. Saber, I already said that. And they have a really nice collection of skills. They have a lot of party enhancement and party-wide skills, but they also have, of course, a battery, and they have a lot of other stuff that buffs themselves. They have a lot of arts and buster buffs, which are really nice, and their NP is a single target art NP, and it recovers the party's HP by 1,000 for every turn, or every turn for 3 turns, and then increases party's party's arts and buster performance up by 3 turns. And that's the overcharge effect. So if you start stacking them, which can happen since it's an arts saber, single target, you can get a lot of these buffs that start stacking. It can be really cool. I will say I think she is an awesome unit. She's one of the better units we've seen so far in this video series. She's going to be rated high. I do think she is in what I want to call a subclass of servants that is very populated. Like if you have, for example, a Summer Hokusai who's free, you probably don't want to roll for Trung Sisters just because it's like, hey, do I really want another arts saber when there's a lot of other really, really more impactful things coming up for the game, for your account, that can really help you in your future stuff. All that being said, I still think the Trung Sisters are very strong, and I'm going to put them at a nice A tier. Next, we have Super Bunyan. She is a single-target buster alter ego who has some interesting things going on, but overall I think is not worth rolling for. She has, of course, a battery. It's only 30%, which is a little rough. That's the second skill. The first skill is a typical classical, just increase buster, increase attack up. And then the third skill is kind of cool. Seals all enemies NP for 1 turn. That's really nice. Reduces their critical attack chance for 3 turns. And increases party's critical star absorption and buster cards for 3 turns. The last part of that is really interesting. I'm surprised that it's party-wide instead of her own. Because obviously, she's probably going to be your main buster, main person hitting stuff. You want all those stars to go to her, not really to other people's buster cards. But not a big deal, Then she has a passive, the Power of Like. So every time she attacks, and every time she gets hit, she gets a like, and then the likes convert to more damage on her NP, which is a buster single target. And it can get up there in damage. It's actually really nice. The overcharge also reduces their defense for 3 turns. I just think overall this is not a really unique character. You probably have someone that does something similar to what she does. I will say the all enemies NP charge or NP seal is really nice utility, but definitely not something I would roll for, especially with this year being so crazy. But yeah, cool character. She's an alter ego as well, which is one of the classes of all time. And yeah, we're gonna go ahead and put Super Bunyan in C tier. I don't think she's really worth rolling for at all, but of course, if you're a fan, you should get it. Side note, I didn't even know Paul Bunyan wasn't a real person until yesterday, so maybe you shouldn't listen to me at all. Maybe I'm just a silly head. Next, we have Constantine, a really interesting, I hesitate to use the word gimmicky, but it's a great description for him, writer. So let's just get right into it. So first of all, he's kind of dripped out. I like his first ascension. I think he's pretty cool. So his first skill increases his own MP generation for 1 turn with a taunt, and he gains a 20 crit stars. That's a pretty cool skill. Second skill is increases party's attack for 3 turns, increases party's buster performance for 3 turns, and increases the crit damage of Roman allies for 3 turns. So that's a pretty stacked skill. All the percentages are pretty low. It's 20, 20, and then 30. But if you got a Roman team you're cooking up, I guess. And then third skill is a lot of text. So he gets a 30% NP battery, increases his own crit damage for 30%, gains critical stars every turn for 3 turns, 10 stars to be exact. Then when he gets a buff that when he dies, he charges the last ally's MP gauge except self, increases last ally's critical damage except self for 3 turns, and grants last ally critical star regeneration buff except self for 3 turns. So he kind of wants to die, basically. He kind of wants to die. And yeah, that's like kind of interesting. We haven't, it's pretty gimmicky, pretty interesting, but his NP kind of doesn't make sense, I feel like, because it's increases his own buster performance for 3 turns, and then he gives himself invincibility. So it's like a kind of defensive NP, but like his third skill is like, yeah, when I die, I'm going to give a bunch of buffs to someone. So it's not the most, I feel like well thought out kit of all time. But yeah, he's just a character that you roll for if you really like him. That's the best way I can put it. Isn't going to really move the needle. He probably has some very, very niche applications. But of course, in this game, you can't really roll for every single unit in the game. Unless you're a Ultra Mega Whale. But yeah. I'm going to go ahead and put Constantine in D tier. Feels kind of bad. He kind of has a cool design. But obviously, if y'all are fans of him, you're going to get him anyway. Just kind of a gimmicky, weird servant. Next, we have Charlemagne, a quick AoE saber. Obviously, a really anticipated servant for a very long time. Again, pretty cool design. And yeah, I think he's pretty nice, except for the fact that he's the green card. Quick is just still in a rough position, in my opinion. So let's go over what he does. First skill grants 1 ally invincibility for 2 attacks, 3 turns. And then if he doesn't have invincibility, increase his own NP generation rate for 5 turns. Then he gets a grant self on defense active buff for 5 turns. And it grants self Heroic King buff for 5 turns when taking attack. And then the Heroic King buff is extra damage on his NP. And then if he does have invincibility, he seals his own NP for 1 turn. Really just a lot of text there, But basically, if he uses the skill, he gives someone invincibility. If he doesn't have invincibility, he gets all these cool buffs. If he does have invincibility, he seals his own MP. So, don't give him invincibility. Second skill. Increases party attack for 3 turns. Increases his own damage against demonic enemies for 3 turns. Increases his own defense against divinity enemies for 3 turns. And then a 30% battery. I've noticed a trend. A lot of these servants have 30% batteries instead of 50 right now, which is kind of interesting. Third skill. Increase his own quick by 30% for 3 turns. Increase his own critical damage for 3 turns by 30%. And then increase his own critical damage against evil alignment enemies for 3 turns. Really nice skill. Alignment type skills are just really nice because it usually hits a lot of stuff. This is just the full package skill, right? You got quick up, you got crit damage, and you got even more crit damage if you hit the right alignment. So cool. NP. AoE quick, like we said, and then he gets even more damage if he, for his Heroic King stacks, max 12. It's interesting it's not 10. I feel like a lot of things max out at 10, but 12, we gotta have that extra 2. Am I being dumb? Is that like for the anyway, lore heads, get me in the comments. Anyway, his overcharge effect reduces all enemies' quick resistance for 3 turns. That's really cool. So overall, really nice servant. Has a lot of interesting, cool stuff. Alas, though, he is a quick AoE. To me, that's a pretty big downside, and just Quick is just in such a bad position right now that it's probably going to hurt his placement on the tier list. I'm going to go ahead and put Charlie in B tier. Again, pretty nice servant. If you have a lot of quick supports / don't really care that he's quick, go ahead, use him. He's going to be nice. Overall, though, he's definitely not below B tier. Like, all these other people are definitely worse than him, in terms of, like, impact on your account and stuff. So, pretty cool. Hopefully they add some more quick supports and he can shoot up even higher, maybe. Next, we have young Moriarty, the ruler. He is a AoE art ruler, which, of course, puts him in a pretty good category, right? AoE arts is obviously really nice, really easy to plug and play and just use. With that, though, comes a lot of really steep competition, and I will kind of hold him to that. There's also some insano arts AoE servants coming up, so again, he's probably not going to get a super high grade, but that doesn't mean he's bad. He's obviously, if you have, the Artorias, the whatever, the art support, he's going to cook. So let's get into it. First skill, mathematical thinking. I like that name. Grant self-evasion 2 attacks 3 turns, ignore evasion for 3 turns, reduces all enemies' arts resistance for 3 turns, and reduces the arts resistance of enemies with evil alignment for 3 turns. So that's a lot of stuff. The art resistance is really cool. I like that it also doubles down if it's in evil alignment. His NP actually inflicts evil alignment, so it is a little weird that you have to do the NP, then click the skill. And then also these debuffs that kind of affect his damage are on the defensive evade skill. So I typically don't really like that when they put all those things onto one skill, because you kind of want to spread out, your cooldowns and stuff, Second skill is just a lot. It's just a rainbow buff by 30% and then crit damage up for 30%. This skill is just weird to me because it's like, it only affects him, but he's a 3 arts deck lad. This could have just said, I know, I guess if it said 50% arts, that'd be pretty good, but, I'm sure they had to already designed the character coming out in the future that we'll talk about here in a minute, that they could have gave it 50% art sub and 30% crit, just called it a day, right? Anyway, third skill, 50% MP charge, which you love to see. Then it grants 1 random buff from these 2 effects, and then only 1 can be activated. Increased star absorption of arts cards, or increases star absorption of buster cards, and then he gains 20 stars. So it's like, they designed his skills, and then they said, okay, let's give him a 3 arts deck. So obviously, his skills are overall nice, but kind of you can have some nitpicks, But yeah, and then his NP is AoE arts, of course. Deals extra damage against enemies with good alignment. Then he seals their skills. Then he inflicts evil alignment on them. So, if they're good, he deals extra damage, but then they're evil now. And it's like, okay, And then his overcharge increases NP damage for 1 turn, so we're not going to be able to stack it. So, obviously a lot of stuff that is just this doesn't really work too well together, overall, but he's still an arts AoE, so he's just going to cook, because that's what all the arts AoE does. So, yeah. I'm going to go ahead and put Moriarty in B tier. Not going to feel bad if you roll for him. Just there's so many good arts loopers coming out and that are also in the game already that you could probably find one that will be more impactful for you, that is worth spending your quartz on more. But of course, if you have none already and you really love Moriarty, go ahead and get him. He's an arts looper. Arts loopers cook. Next, we have one of my favorite servants from last year, Bakin. I'm not gonna gas her up too much because I don't think she's amazing, but I do really love her design and her voice. And yeah, she's a writer AoE art, so already pretty positive. And yeah, so her first skill, 30% MP battery. We're getting to the point where it's like, man, you'd love to see 50, right? You'd love to see 50. If you don't get 50, though, it's all good, as long as you get 30. She also charges party's MP gauge except self by 10%. That's, kind of nice. And then 15 crit stars. Second skill is a ton of text. Increases one ally's all the rainbow stuff, then their crit damage, then their NP damage, then recovers their NP or HP, then grants them evasion for 1 attack 3 turns, then grants them debuff immunity for 1 time 3 turns. This is one of those skills that's like so stacked that like you'd love to see 2 or 3 of these effects go off or like be taken off and increase either the length or the power of the other buffs. Like, if you could take off the quick and buster part of this and maybe make the evasion 2 attack 3 turns and debuff immunity 2 attack 3 turns, that'd be really nice. Maybe even take off the 1000 HP recovery and maybe make the arts up and the crit up and the NP damage up 30%. But again, nitpicking. We're getting into the territory of characters that have so much stuff that you have to nitpick, you know. But of course, when you compare them to old characters, they're like amazing, you know. So anyway, last skill, increases own arts performance for 3 turns, grants on attack activate buff for 3 turns, increases party's attack by 5% for 3 turns when attacking with arts cards. So that's a pretty cool effect. So let's get to her NP. Her NP increases own damage against demonic enemies by 30% for 1 turn, deal damage to all enemies, and then gain 8 crit stars. The 8 crit stars is just so random to me, you know, but you know, you gotta eat your crit star cereal. Overcharge effect deals extra damage against enemies with evil alignment. She's gonna be the evil demon killer. Probably won't even be the best evil demon killer, but she's gonna be one of them. She's arts AoE. She's just very basic arts AoE. You know, I don't want to be biased, so... But I do like her. I do like her. As much as it pains me, I'm going to put Bakin in C tier. She's not even better than Moriarty, who come out right before her, if you want an arts AoE. And yeah, just Sag. Next, we have Tametomo, a Buster Archer AoE. I said that in the wrong order, but y'all know what I mean. He's a really cool servant. He has some really just kind of flavor-wise cool skills, which we'll talk about right now. So his first skill, increases own Buster performance for 3 attacks 3 turns, increases own crit damage for 3 turns. Second skill, grants self-guts for 1 time 3 turns, and then when he gets gutsed, he increases those NP damage for 1 time 3 turns, and he removes his own debuffs, and then he has a 30% NP battery. And then his third skill is where things get kind of cool. So, ignores evasion for 5 turns, and then grants him a buff every turn for 5 turns that increases his NP damage by 20%. And then he has his own, next thing is charge his own NP gauge every turn for 5 turns. That's separate from the, like, 1 time each turn thing. So, what you want to do is you want to click this, and then you want to power up, you know, because he's like a big, you know, robot thing, you know, power up. And then on the 5th turn, you unleash your NP, and it hopefully does a ton of damage. I really think that's kind of a cool, like, flavor-wise. Is it good? he's a Buster Archer, you know. He's gonna cook a little bit, you know, but... So his MP ignores invincibility for 1 turn. That's nice. Ignores defense for 1 turn. That's also nice. Increases his own Buster performance on water side battlefield by 20%. That's nice in the 2% case that you're going to be on a water side. That's over exaggeration. But, you know, just something that when you get it, that's cool. If you don't get it, you're not choked up about it. Then his overcharges deals extra damage against enemies with lawful alignment. You'll notice that a lot of servants now, we're getting to this era of everyone has like a niche they're hitting, right? Everyone's like, oh, I'm going to hit extra on lawful, or I'm going to hit extra on evil, I'm going to hit extra on demonic, or whatever, you know? We'll see that trend continue. But yeah, overall, Tametomo, pretty cool. He is permanent. Not going to really factor that in, because obviously you can't count on, like, hey, I'm going to get a permanent servant. You know, I have gotten him a lot, though, so, but... I'm going to go ahead and put Tametomo in C tier. Might be a little harsh. I just don't think he's really in a B tier. You know, when you look at the other 3 there, I don't think he's worth those servants. And we've just seen this type of servant a lot, and there's definitely ones that do it better in terms of the Archer AoE Buster. But again, if you get him, if you have him, he's really cool and a really nice big robot. So yeah. And here we go. Now time for the big one. Archetype. Moon Cancer, Buster AoE, probably needs no introduction what she does. I'm going to preface this with, I almost wish I could rank her twice. I think there is a completely different ranking for her if you decide to go super hard and get NP5 on her, and if you decide to not and just get a single copy of her. Her performance when you have a really low invested, and I say low invested, but even like MP2, her performance is really not up to par, I feel like, with some other servants. Now, if you get her to MP5, you might literally not need another servant for the rest of Fate history. She is really crazy at MP5. She just does silly damage. But yeah, I think that's a really important asterisk and thing to preface. But let's get into it. So, first skill, seals all enemy skills. Reduces their defense for 3 turns and increases own attack for 3 turns. Pretty cool skill. Sealing all skills is nice. Then, here we go. Then the second skill. Charges NP gauge by 100%. And then, on top of that, increases own NP damage for 3 turns by 20%. Really nice. Really nice skill. 100% NP charge. Turns out that's pretty good. Third skill, grants party invincibility for 1 attack 3 turns, increases the buff removal resistance of allies with good alignment for 1 turn, and charges party's NP gauge except self on the Millennium Castle battlefield by 30%. So you may be wondering, what the hell is the Millennium Castle battlefield? Well, she also has like 20 billion passives. One important one is the Millennium Castle battlefield. When it's on, she gets rainbow buff by 30%. So the Millennium Castle battlefield, I'll never get bored of saying that, happens or changes when you use her NP, and it lasts for 3 turns. So when you click the NP, she changes the battlefield. Also one of the coolest NP animations in the game, pretty easily. And then she does her AoE damage. Then she deals extra damage to enemies with chaotic alignment, and pay attention, this is not an overcharge. So this scales also with the NP level. So at NP level 1, it's 300% damage. That's how everything normally is, but it's 150% chaotic extra damage. But it increases when you increase her NP level, which is, in my opinion, kind of a... I don't know. I'm not too big of a fan of that. I don't really like that. And then her overcharge charges the NP gauge of living human allies except self by 20% at overcharge 1. Pretty just nice thing. So, overall, she is a really strong servant if you invest in her. If you don't, I hate to say it, but she's kind of middling. Her damage just is not, like, amazing. The Millennium Castle stuff is really cool. She also just has some really nice utility for, like, fights and the party and everything. So it's one of those servants where if you want her to be the one, she can be the one. And yeah. With all that being said, she is going to be at the top of A tier. I do want to just say, if you get her to MP5, she is an EX servant, in my opinion. I'm not going to put her at EX because this is, of course, like a tier list for the value of servants and your Saint Courts. Like, is this worth it to use these Saint Courts to get this servant, And kind of thinking that she's 5 servants in herself, there's no way that's worth it in this tier list, in this creation that I've made. So, really strong servant. This is not representative of her actual value, but yeah. Now we're getting on to the big block of servants. We started with Archetype, and these next few are going to hit really hard. So, Lady Avalon, Proto Merlin, Female Merlin, she's EX, don't need to say anything else. No, I'm joking. Obviously, one of my favorite servants in the game. Bias is not gonna come into that, but she is extremely good and extremely strong for basically everyone. So, she is basically Arch Merlin, but maybe better, question mark? You know, so first skill, increases own one ally's arts performance for 3 turns by 50%, increases their max HP for 3 turns by 3,000, and increases their crit damage for 1 turn by 100%. Obviously an insano skill. Second skill, increases party's attack for 3 turns, charges party's NP gauge by 20%, and then overcharge party's NP by 1 stage for 1 time 3 turns. I really love the overcharge stuff. I feel like overcharge is such a cool mechanic that they can add to a lot of people. And yeah, I really like this skill. This skill is really strong. Last skill, grants party invincibility for 1 turn, reduces all enemies' NP gauge by 1 every turn for 1 time, unstackable. So this is a weird skill. So I'm just going to explain how this works. So it's basically, you get invincibility, then the next turn, it takes away their NP, basically. And then you charge NP. It's kind of weird. Kind of weird, like the way it's worded and stuff, you know. But yeah, really good skill. Really good skill. 20 billion passives, of course. Then her NP, baby. Increases party's max HP for 3 turns, and charges party's NP gauge every turn for 3 turns. And of course, as you see, we start the trend some more of other effects being affected by the NP level. So not only is the max HP part of this affected by the level, but also the NP regen percentage. And it's like by kind of a lot, you know, like 5% every turn versus 10% every turn is not something to laugh at. You know, it's not something to, you know, that's a lot. That's a lot over 3 turns. That's 15% versus 30%. You know, I can do math. But yeah, again, can't do anything about it, obviously. Overcharge effect is gains crit stars every turn for 5 turns. So really nice. And it is relevant that it's an overcharge effect because, you know, she has her own overcharge, and just in a stall comp or whatever, you're probably going to have her, you know, either have overcharge or be like 2nd or 3rd NP. Probably not 3rd, but, you know. So yeah, you can make a lot of stars every turn. Overall, Arts Merlin, questionably better, debatably better than Merlin. But yeah, obviously she's going to be really high. For now, I'm going to put her in A tier. Looking at the tier list, I really want to put her in EX tier, but it may be more of a matter of moving some other servants around. So yeah, we will, of course, do a kind of a check at the end of this part of the video, and see if we have any adjustments or anything. And now it's time for what I assume everyone is waiting for, Ibuki Doji, Summer Ibuki. One of the best servants in the entire game. One of those servants that's just, if you get her highly invested, you basically don't even play the game ever again. She is used in every single content. Of course, if you want it even more, I wouldn't say in-depth, but if you want more discussion from me about her, check out my Kama video, as I talked about her heavily in that video. But just, I don't even know, really. I'm sure if you watch this video and you know about Ibuki, she's just insane. We're not going to go like too deep into her skills, but she's just a berserker AoE. I'll cut to the chase. She's a berserker AoE with a NP gauge, Arts Berserker AoE with a 50% NP battery. And then like 20 other things that she doesn't need, that if they probably were taken away would still be good. Or she would still be good. And then of course her NP just removes all enemies' defensive buffs. So one of the most annoying servants to face, because, hey, you can't stall her out, because freaking, there's the Silver Shield. You know, I love to call it the Silver Shield. And then she does the AoE, and then she reduces their critical attack chance, and she's a berserker, so that's awesome. And then she deals extra damage against enemies with Earth Attribute. I wonder how many servants, how many things are Earth Attribute? How many things? Oh, this really little category of servants are Earth Attribute, you know? And, and enemies too. Whoa. That's not a lot, man. That's not a lot. Just a silly character, man. Just silly. Silly, man. Just, I don't know, man. It's Ibuki. I mean, easiest EX ever. If, like, game changing, account changing, just, she is her. Next, we have Summer Skadi, the next iteration of quick support, but she's really similar to her original version, and it's like, she's only better by a little margin, but that margin actually is kind of a big deal for the quick users and stuff, so let's get into it. First skill increases one ally's quick performance for 3 turns, then increases their crit damage of buster cards for 3 turns. So you're going to see this trend of like, hey, I'm buffing quick, but I'm also buffing buster cards. And in theory, it makes sense, right? Because you get crit stars from the quick attacks and stuff, and then you want to cash those in on really high attacking, high, damage cards. My problem is, and not to make this whole segment about, but my problem is that, like, there are not, like, every quick character does not have 2 buster cards and is, like, designed to be, to use buster cards, And I wish they would have just, like, made a more singular, this is the new age quick support, this is our quick Castoria. Maybe not to that degree, but you know what I mean. Anyway, second skill, increases party's attack for 3 turns, increases party's quick performance for 3 turns by 50%, and increases buster performance by 50% for 3 turns. Then grants 15 stars every turn for 3 turns. So that's awesome, but she's the quick support, so you're going to be getting a lot of stars anyway. But again, it's nice to have extra, Third skill is, of course, the 50% battery. Then the 5,000 absorption on buster cards, and then 15 stars. So she's a quick servant. If you're a quick fiend, you have to get her, basically. She's gonna be highly ranked. You just have to get her, kind of, if you want to use quick. It's one of those things where it's like, for me, I have skipped her a lot just because I'm waiting for the next quick support, and it still hasn't come. So maybe I'm the idiot, And their NP is actually AoE quick NP, so you can use her with herself. You could do like double ruler and then normal Skadi, and that's not a bad team. And yeah, overall, she's a quick support. She's probably the best quick support. Just not a good enough upgrade from normal Skadi that personally I would have wanted to see. I'm going to put Skadi in A tier, and I think looking at this tier list right now, I'm probably going to make some adjustments. I cannot speak. Later on, probably moving some people down just because this A list, or this A tier, there are some people that might not, aren't on the same tier as some of the other people. So, anyway. Next, we have Sen No Rikyu, a Berserker, who is a quick AoE, which is really nice. She also has 3 quick cards in her deck. First skill, increases party's quick performance for 3 turns, increases party's NP generation rate for 3 turns, and gains crit stars. The percentages aren't that high, but I do like that it's party-wide. Second skill, charges one ally's NP gauge by 30%, overcharges their NP by 2 stages, and grants them invincibility for 1 attack 3 turns. Third skill, increases own crit damage for 3 turns, increases own crit damage of quick cards for 3 turns, and then grants self-on-attack activate debuff for 3 turns that inflicts defense down by 10% for 3 turns to enemy when attacking with quick cards. So, overall, really nice skill set. She does only have a 30% NP battery, but she's AoE Berserker, so she's really strong. Her NP, of course, deals damage to all enemies. Then seals their NP for 1 turn. Then inflicts them with Curse for 1,000 damage for 5 turns with them. And then deals extra damage against enemies with Man Attribute, which is another very, 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 very small category of things. Yeah. So, chalk super big extra damage, niche up to Fate Grand Order. Yeah. Not much to say here. Really strong. If you're a quick fiend, you're going to like Sen No Rikyu. She's still a quick, though. And the best arts AoE servant, one of them, just came out like a month, or not even a month, like a little bit before this character came out. So, pretty hard to recommend. I'm going to put Sen No Rikyu at the bottom of A tier, and as you can see, I adjusted some servants from A tier. I put the Trung Sisters and Koenskaya down to B tier, as I don't really want to make another tier, but definitely they're not in the same tier as Summer Skadi, Merlin, Arcruid, and Sen No Rikyu. So we'll come back, of course, probably after this is all done and readjust and see where my head's at then. Next, we have another quick servant, Huyan Zhuo. Sorry if I mispronounced that. She's a quick AoE assassin. And don't blink, because her kit is going to come up again on the next character, basically. So, first skill. Increases own quick performance for 3 turns. Increases own buster performance for 3 turns. Grants self on attack activate buff for 3 turns, which increases crit star generation by 20% for 3 turns when attacking with quick cards. And then she gains another one that's the same thing if she attacks with buster cards. So, pretty nice skill, lots of stuff, 30% quick and buster, obviously another quick and buster person, gonna synergize well with Summer Skadi. Second skill, ignores invincibility for 3 turns, like that. Increases own attack for 3 turns, that's okay. And then increases own crit star absorption for 1 turn, pretty nice. Last skill, sensitive mental. I like that name, bro. Don't we all have sensitive mentals right now? Grants self-evasion for 2 attacks, 3 turns. Increases own buff removal resistance for 3 turns. And charges own NP gauge. So, you'll notice this is not a full, debuff immunity, but... or I guess that's not the same thing at all. Never mind. But yeah, nice skill. Her AoE... Or NP, AoE NP, deals damage, then deals extra damage against enemies with evil alignment. You'll notice that this is not does not go up based on NP levels. So where's the love hat, Fate? Then a 40% chance to stun them. It's gonna be sick when you stun them, and it's gonna be, I don't know. I guess you're gonna look up and be like, what happened? How did I stun them? Just whatever. Increases own quick performance for 1 turn that activates first on the overcharge. So, overall, just a very, this is an AoE quick servant. Not much else really to talk about. She's a quick AoE assassin. I'm going to go ahead and put Huyan Zhuo in B tier, towards the bottom. I gotta reorganize because I don't think Moriarty's the lowest in B tier, but yeah, just more quick. Now for the final servant of this part, the greatest servant in the history of Fate Grand Order, the destroyer of the game. She is the greatest servant of all time, best lancer, best everything, best girl. She's amazing. Britomart. Most of that was my bias. I do really love Britomart, but she's definitely not cooking too much. First skill, grants self-invincibility for 2 attacks, 3 turns. Increases own NP gen rate for 3 turns. And then increases own crit attack chance resistance for 3 turns. Okay, cool skill. Second skill, grants crit stars 10 stars. Grants 10 stars. Then she grants 10 stars every turn for 3 turns. Then she grants debuff immunity for 3 turns. Then she grants crit damage up by 30% for 3 turns. Nice skill. Love to see debuff immunity. Last skill. Whoa, this looks familiar. What the heck? 30% quick up, 30% buster up, and 30% NP up. Where did I see that before? I feel like I saw that 2 minutes ago. NP. Ignores invincibility. Nice. Increases own damage against riding enemies by 50% for 1 turn. Riding enemies, let's see how many riding enemies. Oh yeah, there's a lot. Look at all those riding enemies. It's mostly servants though. But yeah, that's pretty nice niche. Then she does the damage. Then she deals extra damage against rider enemies. So if you're on a horse, get wrecked, bro. Yeah, I mean I like her a lot, but definitely not one that is gonna change your life, change your account, you know? Basically Bradamante too, but like they didn't even make her so much better than Bradamante. They did, but Bradamante was kind of bad. And then she got a buff. Anyway, I'm rambling. Britomart's cool. I'm going to put Britomart in B tier. I'm going to rearrange this, but I do think she's just slightly better than Huyan Zhuo. But it's like not by much, and it's also, they're in different classes, so can you really compare them? But they are very, very, very similar servants that came out right next to each other, which was really weird. So, yeah. So, next we're going to do a reorganization of the tier list, and that'll be the end of the video. Alright, so this is the final tier list of this part. I feel bad Charlie's face is cut off at the end there. B tier. B tier is pretty big now. So, what are the changes? So, I moved Sen No Rikyu down, but she is the top of B tier. I think that's a pretty good placement for her. And yeah, so right now, I think this is a pretty good representation of, like, what I'm feeling and what you should probably roll for. A and above is, like, the excellence, you know, hey, these are the game changers, these are the power plays, these are the, you know, the awesomeness. B tier is like, hey, there's a lot of positive here. You know, there's a lot of positive in a lot of these servants. C tier is like, you know, C tier is like, and then D tier is like, man, you know, Izumo's a really cool character. And then, you know, Constantine's a really cool character. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will try to put out the next part of this video soon. I'm sorry this took 2 months to do. I had a lot of stuff going on. But, yeah, I really appreciate it. We are also at 500 subscribers. It's really awesome. So, look out for, like, a video that might be funny and might embarrass me a lot. Not, like, embarrass me, but, like, I think it'll be funny. Anyway, all right. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys later.